This is the horoscope of Mean Joe Greene. He didn't get that nickname for nothing. Here is a man who used to pulverize the opposition on the football field. There is the planet Mercury sitting in the sign of Libra. Yes, as a matter of fact, Libra was the sun sign too. Libra, the planet of Libra, the sign of charm. But what does that Mercury do? Again, the Mercury is making an aspect to the planet Saturn. The Mercury is around 10 degrees of Libra, and Saturn is about 6 degrees of Leo. Well, Leo again is show business. Here is somebody whose persona is very serious, very disciplined. But the Mercury also sits on top of Neptune, so that means that the things he says can come before the public in either movies or television. And they did. They had that famous Coca-Cola commercial where he lets this kid, share his Coke. No, actually, the kid gave him the Coke, and he gave the kid the towel, I believe, or the sweatshirt or something or other. At any rate, so he got before the cameras, but again, in a way that was very serious. And of course, that nickname. Here's somebody who doesn't have to say a word. His nickname tells the entire story for him. At any rate, there's that Saturn for the discipline. When you're in sports, this isn't a bad thing to have Mercury making a good aspect with Saturn, because the Saturn can give discipline as well. A lot of sports figures, though, seem to have Mercury more in aspect with Mars, the planet of action and aggression. At any rate, I want to mention one other thing, folks. Astrology is not fate. It's like headlights on a car. You turn them on at night when you're driving and you see what's on the road ahead of you. You still have to drive the car. Driving at night without headlights, now that's fate. And another thing too, we're born with a certain horoscope. Those are the cards that are dealt to us. We have the free will to play with those cards as we see fit. But there is one area where we don't have to take those cards that we were dealt with. Every year on your birthday, the sun comes back to where it was when you were born, and if you make a horoscope for that exact moment, it will set the stage for the entire year. Now that horoscope can be changed. Because it's set up for a place as well as a time. You can't choose the time of your birthday, but you can choose where to be when it happens. You can choose where to spend your birthday. You can turn the wheel. Of course, sometimes you may have to travel a really great distance, but usually there is a place for you to be that, well, you can strengthen anything you want to. You could take Jupiter, the planet of good luck, and you could put it in career or money or relationships. You could put one of the other planets in those places if the planets happen to be well aspected. It's just a matter of traveling to the right place. Now, you can't always do that. Because if the planets happen to be afflicting each other, if you have a lot of 90 and 180 degree aspects on your birthday, you've got a problem. Then no matter where you are, you're still going to have those aspects. You see, folks, you cannot travel to change the angle between planets. As when you move around the world, the whole sky moves as a unit. You can choose your rising sign, you can choose your midheaven sign. You can choose the aspects to them, but you can't affect the angles between the planets. If they're messed up to begin with, well, then it's a matter of going to a place that's going to be the least bad for you, rather than the place that will do you the most good. There's another problem too. Sometimes the best place to be winds up in the middle of the ocean, or in the middle of a jungle, or some other hard to get to place. Sometimes you could wind up in Bosnia, So other times a person just may not be able to travel. Maybe the funds are short, or maybe they've got some important deals at the time. Some people, the busy season of their business happens to fall just around the time of their birthday. So it's not always easy to take a long trip. But if you can do that, I would say about 1 year out of every 4 you can get really superb results. And the other years you could at least make adjustments. You could at least make things a little bit better than they normally would have been. By the way, you get 2 chances a year. 2 chances a year, because there's not only your birthday, there's also your half birthday. 6 months after your birthday, the sun is opposing the place where it was when you were born. That's a half cycle. It'll affect you for the last 6 months of your birthday year. Oh, one other thing, folks. When you're getting a birthday chart done, be sure to tell them that you want it, now get this, precession corrected. Precession corrected. You know what precession is? You ever spin a top when you were a kid and you see the top wobble? That's called precession. Well, the Earth wobbles around the sun. The Earth's orbit moves around the sun, so every year it takes the sun just a little bit longer to get back to the place where it was when you were born. Eventually, everybody's birthday winds up on the next day. So that it is a significant difference. When you're getting one of these birthday charts run off, tell them you want it precession corrected. Precessed. That's the accurate one. Well, let's get back to the Mercury aspects. Let's look at the next horoscope. This is the horoscope of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now look at that Mercury right at the top of the chart. First of all right, I've got to bring in sun signs. Now the guy was a Gemini, which is the sign of communications. Gemini was at the top of the chart. The top of the chart is your career. Gemini is communications. Mercury sits in Gemini, and Mercury is in the house of career. That's 4 things that say that this guy has to be a communicator in some way, shape, or form. Now, what did the Mercury aspect? Mercury was 90 degrees away from the planet Jupiter. Jupiter simply makes things larger. Here was a guy who was going to have to talk or write. By the way, he did one very interesting thing. He always wrote things such as stay at home, don't travel, and he went all around the world virtually telling people this message. Well, at any rate, Mercury squaring the planet Jupiter, it doesn't always make what you say accurate, but it means that you're going to say a lot of it. And it does give you a certain amount of luck, even though with a configuration like this, you can easily go too far. Now, again, having a planet in its own sign at the top of the chart, it's powerful. Virtually nothing could hurt it. So this was Mr. Communications. This was Mr. Hitch Your Wagon to a Star. Jupiter, though, is the big things, the big picture. Jupiter always expands. And, of course, Ralph Waldo Emerson was famous for starting the movement called Transcendentalism. You know, hitch your wagon to a star. Jupiter, expansion. Mercury, Jupiter, the mind always expanding. Let's take a look at the next horoscope. This is the horoscope of Sally Struthers. Now, Sally Struthers has Mercury also in the 10th house. Again, folks, sometimes people have a lot of planets piled together, and it's difficult to tell them apart. But Sally Struthers did have the Mercury up here in this pile, and 90 degrees here, 120 degrees away, actually, is the planet Jupiter. You notice I'm not really distinguishing between the aspects, 60 degrees, 90, 120, 180. That's because any contact between 2 planets is going to set them off, and it's going to set them off in a certain way. Whether it does it smoothly or with a little more stress, that's already a secondary point. Here is somebody, again, who can have luck with communications. And Jupiter being in the house of money, here is somebody who's not going to starve to death. Jupiter making a good aspect to Mercury, luck with communications and money through the communications as well. Of course, she got her big start with All in the Family. She also has Mercury 90 degrees away from Neptune, which is good for movies and television. That Neptune is really what did it for her. Neptune sitting right on the rising sign. She got that role because she had a perfect New York accent. The only problem was she'd never been to New York. None of her family was from New York. Her roommate for 1 year was a native New Yorker, and she picked up the accent. Only Neptune can do that. Neptune, the chameleon planet. If you have a strong Neptune like this and you're around somebody with an accent, soon you'll wind up talking with the same accent. As a matter of fact, you'll be lucky if you don't wind up with their beliefs. If they have strong beliefs, you'll pick them up, and you will believe those things more strongly than they do. The nice thing about Neptune is you can be whomever you want to be. Just associate with somebody that has the traits you want. That's Neptune, though. As far as Sally Struthers is concerned, that Neptune did make an aspect with her Mercury, meaning that she could come before the movies in some way, shape, or form, movies or television, and the Jupiter simply gave her luck and expansion. So again, always look to the entire chart.